Now, what we want to do is make a very, very important distinction. Employee engagement is not employee satisfaction. There are a lot of different surveys out there, and I know the healthcare industry in particular uses a lot of different surveys. When you're trying to measure engagement, you cannot use an employee satisfaction survey because an employee satisfaction measures typically what we would call the hygienic issues. People's satisfaction with their compensation, with their benefits, with the cologne their coworker wears, whatever it is. Employee engagement is about an emotional experience. Satisfaction are more the hygiene issues. Okay, so here's what we need to know about employee engagement. Also, at the end of the day, employee engagement. How many people in here have like a scientific orientation? Anybody? I tend to be very much an act on fact, and when people start talking about engagement, I see, in often cases, I'll see some senior managers who kind of roll their eyes because it's too warm and fuzzy for them, and too, well, we pay them, don't they? Don't we? That should be enough to do their jobs. At the end of the day, employee engagement is an emotional condition. Okay, when people come to work, it's kind of it's a combination of emotions that they're experiencing. If you then dig down deeper than that, what is it that drives emotions? Or what is it not that drives emotions, but how do emotions manifest? Emotions are triggered biological responses in the body. In other words, there's a whole series of chemical reactions that take place when people feel different emotions. And here again, I'd like to share what I think was just an absolute fascinating piece of information with you. This is from a woman named Dr. Ellen Weber, who is the director of the MEDA International Brain-Based Center in Rochester, New York. She said, a positive organizational climate helps employees to learn. If a manager shows interest in employees, supports them, praises them genuinely, he or she squirts a powerful chemical mix of serotonin and oxytocin into their brains. These two neurotransmitters open employees' minds to ideas and creates desires to get to know managers better and to support whatever they need to be done. Okay? Now, do you know that the opposite is true also? How many of you have ever worked for a manager who that you kind of felt disengaged when you were with? Anybody? Okay. By the way, we're gonna shy away from kneeing people under the table. And there's no sidelong glances today if you know when someone needs to hear something. For every positive chemical reaction, there is a negative chemical reaction. She goes on to say that, however, if you diminish me, you squirt cortisol into my brain, and that shuts it down and closes it off to new ideas and my willingness to help you. So at the end of the day, employee engagement, to a degree, you could measure it as a series of chemical responses in the brain. Now, how could we actively manage that? Could we try like an experiment and kind of put these chemicals in the air ducts and see if people just kind of, could we do a pill for it? Probably not. You know, interestingly though, those two chemical compounds, serotonin and oxytocin, and the response they create, especially oxytocin, what we know, if you want to think about how that affects engagement, you can almost think of it as a drug reaction. Cocaine addiction is so powerful because it keeps pulling you back to the source. When we engage people as a manager, do you know that it creates the same effect on people's brains? That chemical response that we create, they end up creating a whole cluster of neurons in their brains that identify that pleasurable experience, that sense of energy, that sense of feeling good about ourselves, and we associate that with the person or people that it came from. So when we genuinely create those emotional conditions, what we end up doing is we create this reciprocity. People come to us because we help them feel good, we help them feel complete about what they're doing, and in return, they give us their attention and attention to the things that we need done at the same time. So that's really how as leaders, I'd like you to think about this thing as engagement. Engagement at its core is based on reciprocity. So the question is, how do we get there?